Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. If you was part of that technical difficulty, my name is Montgomery Harris. I am the Steampunk Wordsmith, and today we are going to venture into the world of dystopia. And with me, as always, I have my guests. So, without further ado, and as soon as I can find the right button to press, we will be going to our guests. And we are live. Just excuse me being a mess here because we had to do this in a rush.
Yeah, man, I'm not seeing the. Wait. I see your OBS.
Okay, I'm live now. Okay, you should be able to see yourself now, guys.
Let's give it about 20 seconds or so for YouTube to keep up.
Okay. I'm just going to switch back to the title screen, redo that, and edit the
Here
video.
we go.
Okay. So, are we
There
live?
we go.
We are all here now, right? The gang's all here.
We
Okay.
are.
So, my apologies for those few technical difficulties. Not the best way to start our second show, but hey, we have a good ending. So, let's start again with the introductions. My name is Montgomery Harris. As I said, I am the Steampunk Wordsmith, and with me tonight is my regular co-host, Trevor Billing.
Hello there.
And our guest co-host tonight is MK Dockery.
Hi.
And with me are our guest panel for this evening. And I am going to go in the order they appear on the screen. So, Cyfoot.
Hello.
P.A. Power, or Patrick,
Hello.
we called him. And Harper Riley.
Hello.
Welcome all. And before we get started, let's take a look at our guest panel. So, again, I'm starting with Cy because she appears first in the screen. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Cy Foot. I go by Cy online. I write sci-fi fantasy, and my first book, Incomplete, will be coming out in 2024.
Okay. Is that like the Unfinished Symphony?
Definitely.
Okay, good. Because that does have an ending as well. And we are going to go to PA Powers, which Patrick, welcome. Tell us a little about yourself.
I'm an author from the Midwest. I've written stories on and off since grade school. Never really did anything with it until about last year when I wrote The Beast Behind Me, The Chimera Wolf. It's out. Book 2, The Chimera Clan, is out. And both of them are paranormal werewolf fantasy novels. They cover a full spectrum of the paranormal, shifter, and all that, with a dashing of romance and a lot of drama.
Okay. Thank you, and welcome again. And welcome, Harper Riley. Thank you for being with us tonight. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Hi, Harper Riley. I wrote Ghosted, and I've been writing ever since second grade. In fact, that book got me kicked out of school. So that's my main claim to fame. But
That's fantastic.
I am hoping that this book proves much better. It is about how domestic violence goes really wrong, and it's a psychological thriller, and I hope you guys pick it up and read it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for being with us again tonight, and my apologies for the technical difficulty that we had at the beginning there. These things happen, and we are now all set to go into the world of dystopia, which is one of my favourite genres. If you are unfamiliar with the dystopia genre, it's anything like The Handmaid's Tale. For young adults, we have seen books like The Hunger Games and Divergent, that series. Dystopia is anything which basically means that the masses are suffering at the hands. I moved a little too far there. I went straight to the arms. Missed the hands. Well done. At the hands of a hierarchy. This can be through a major corporation or a government that is corrupted to the point where everything serves the few and the masses suffer because of it. It's usually
I'm yet to hear in the fiction part of this.
okay.
Political statements aside.
Political statements aside, yeah. There's usually a lot of propaganda involved, and there is a controlling force over the masses. We've seen this in like things like 1984, where we saw the Thought Police and the 5 Minutes of 8. That was the propaganda and the controlling method right there for you. It's a great subject to get into. It's usually the result of some apocalypse. So this is post-apocalypse plus one, if you will. We've had the apocalypse, we've had the Reconstruction, and the Reconstruction, which usually started as a good idea, has ended up becoming something terrible. There's a fantastic Rutger Hauer movie called Wedlock, about a prison in a dystopian society. I recommend that you go and check that one out. So, that is dystopia in a nutshell, and I have a prompt here for you that we are going to go through, and the prompt is going to follow what we call the Montgomery Harris evolution method. Now, the evolution method is something that I designed to create a 33 episode Kindle Vella or a 33 chapter story, and each of those episodes have a title, and we will be going through them, and you'll see them come up on the screen as we progress. But without further ado, is everybody sitting comfortably?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I will take the nods as well. Trevor, do you want to read the prompt, or do you want me to do it?
Let's see. I can, if you would like.
Okay. So Trevor is going to read
All
the
right.
prompt this evening.
Alright, so our character has only ever had 3 more questions than the number of questions in which we're safe to ask in whatever city we end up choosing. Now, those 3 questions is also 3 more than we're safe. First, why was mandatory proration aptitude testing a thing? If their grandfathers' books described it as a natural thing. Second, if our character's grandfather was one of 5 children, then why was the industrial caste only allowed to have 1 child per each when procreation was authorized? Next, our character's most difficult question, the one they were warned never to ask, which was, if the wall was to protect them from the threats outside of the city, then why were so many killed when they tried to go outside? If it is safer, if it is safer, the continued harmony of the city created more questions than answers, in our character's opinion. But in a place where opinions were more dangerous than not taking the daily dose of medicine, which raised the potential 4th question: why had our character not gotten sick? They hadn't taken their pills in months.
It's a nice juicy prompt to get your teeth into, especially as sci-fi people. So, I think we should get started and start creating a story. Has anyone got any questions about the prompt before we go on? Okay.
You're muted.
I just unmuted myself. Proration aptitude. Are you talking about like financial testing? Are we talking about finance here?
We're talking about everything.
But in the terms of proration aptitude, are we talking about finance, goods?
No, it's procreation aptitude test. It's just something
Okay.
a test that you have to take to pass in order to have a child. But nobody
Okay,
really knows what that test
So
is.
proration is
Procreation.
procreation.
Yeah. Oh, it's a misspelling.
It's a misspelling. Okay. Because proration has to do with finance in my head, so I just wanted to clarify
It's
that. Like,
procreation.
what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Procreation aptitude. Okay.
So people have
Thank
to
you
take
for
an
the
aptitude
clarification.
test before they can have a child. And it goes on to explain that the industrial class is only allowed 1 child should they pass the test. Arpad, did you have a question?
Nope.
Okay then, we have a dice here, and as the youngest member of the panel, we have selected Cy to roll the dice. So, with me being number 1, MK 2, Cy 3, Trevor 4, Patrick 5, and Harper 6, roll the dice and we'll see who goes first.
Alright. I rolled a 1.
Of course you did.
Good job, Cy.
Okay, so on your screens right now, you should see appearing, as if by magic, the level 1.
Yeah, I'm
of
not
the,
seeing anything.
Give me a second. Level 1. It's not coming on top of the screen, it seems. So I am going to do this and switch view. Bear with me a second, I'm still getting used to this. And it worked so well earlier. So,
Hey, Patrick, I like your book cover.
Thank you.
so as we can see, prompt level 1 to 3 there. The first act is prompt levels 1 through levels 1 through 3, and the first one we can see is an opening image, which I am going to set the scene for the city, and I am going to name the city. So that's where we'll get started, and then from level 2 we will go next to MK, then to Cy, then to Trevor, then to Patrick, and then to Harper, and we will start all over again. Isn't that exciting, children?
Did you have to add the children?
Yes, I did. It was the
Side-eye.
former teacher in me.
The former teacher.
Yeah. So let me just get back to the main screen, because this thing seems to really want to be a pain tonight. And there is a lag between what people are seeing live and what they are seeing here, so that's just so that the audience knows that's something that happens with any live stream. We can't do anything about it. Okay, and there is a lag between you guys and me because, hey, it's been a long day. Right. So I'm setting the scene, the opening image, the setting the scene. When you open a book, this is the first third of the first chapter, or if it's a series, the first chapter, or even the first act, which sets the scene of the story as it will take place. In this opening image, we see a city, and it is a city that's set out almost like a complete circle, and in the center of the circle there's a very high wall, like I'm talking 200 feet, and everything within that wall, if we look at it from above, is gardens, and there's beautiful houses inside it, almost like the Forbidden City in China. It's beautifully laid out. There are guards within, there are parks, and children are playing happily. There are shops, food's in plenty, people are dressed very well, and as, like, if we can imagine, we are panning out, the second ring of the city is full of military people training and working. They are the military caste, and on the outside ring, the largest part with the smallest wall, is the industrial belt, and inside the industrial belt everyone is wearing red jumpsuits to work. That is the only clothing that you appear to be able to see, and it's thick with smoke, it's dirty conditions, there's not much sanitary conditions in there. It looks like a place that you would have expected to have seen in a city during the Industrial Revolution. And this zooms in on our hero, who is looking at the large wall at this point, and then he's looking at the small wall on the outside, and the outside wall is filled with guard towers and razor wire on the top, and there's signs saying danger minefield, and everything on the outside of it is almost like, for those who are old enough, if you can imagine the East German side of the wall, that's what it looks like as you're approaching the wall. and it's covered in machine guns and guards walking up and down this wall. And it focuses on our hero, who I'm going to name him. Give me a name. Who wants to throw out a hero's name?
Bob.
Except Bob.
Donovan.
Donovan's a good name. You can't name everybody Bob, Trevor.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't. Otherwise, everyone would know. You know, the only people who know that name are goldfish.
That could be the mark of my entire career, is everyone named Bob.
So Bobby's standing there. He's in his red overalls. He's just finished a working shift. He's absolutely filthy, and he's walking along the wall. And as he's walking around the wall, he's passing people, and he notices that, you know, there are very few children in the industrial zone, and he walks past and he sees one child being taken from the parents because it's time for the child to get their mandatory education. And there's speakers going off. Would you like to be a parent? Mandatory testing is now available. Only the best can procreate. And it's saying that, you know, only the best of society, only the highest scores on the test are allowed to have children. Educate your children today so they may procreate. And it's walking around and everything, and he comes across his girlfriend, who will name, we'll give her a name like Saskia. Saskia's a good name. So he reaches Saskia, and she's like, "Oh, you're going to take the test? It's time you took the test. I want to get married." And he's like, "Why do we have to take the test? I don't see why we have to take a test to get to procreate. You know, it's supposed to be the most natural thing in the world." And she's like, "Shh, talk like that'll get you taken outside the wall." And he's like, "Perhaps I want to be outside the wall." And then they walk off, and you see he's in the house, and you see the house is basically a novel. It's a 2 down, 2 up kind of house. You know, there's a kitchen, there's a living room, which isn't much of a living room. It's like benches and a TV, and the TV's playing loads of stuff that goes on and on about procreating and taking the test and education, and, you know, for the safety of what's the name. And there's people talking about the pills and how good the pills make you. Make you a better citizen and an healthier citizen. And you see him walk upstairs, and he jumps onto a bunk bed where all of his brothers and sisters, all his brothers are, and sorry, he doesn't have brothers, where his grandfather still sleeps in the room with him, and it's like a bunk bed for him and his grandfather, and the mother and father are in the next room. That's all that's in the house. There's a communal bathhouse in the yard. Does that set the scene? Has anyone got any questions? No?
Nope, just writing notes.
Okay.
I'm drawing.
You're drawing? Of course you're drawing.
What's the grandfather's name? What's the mom's name? What's the dad's name?
That goes to whoever gets introduced the support, not me.
Okay.
If they are the support characters. If they're not the support characters, I will give you a name.
Okay.
We're going to
Is the girlfriend the support character too?
It's up for you, the person who gets that section, to decide.
Okie dokie.
The fact that she's scared would indicate otherwise, but that's just me. You know, like, she just wants him to toe the line so she can get married, it seems. But we are going to take a look here at level 2. We are moving on to level 2 already. Look at the progress we're making. And in level 2 we have the unimportant task, meet the villain and meet the supporters. And MK, which one of those would you like?
I think it's a little too early to meet the villain right now. I think it would be good to probably do an unimportant task at the early point of this story. So I imagine in the industrial portion of this city, there's still kind of rent issues. And being that he lives with his parents and his grandparents, they probably have actually a fairly nice place of living, even though it's kind of communistic style, that they have shared living. But for the environment, it's probably a fairly nice place in comparison to others. So maybe he needs to go pay the rent. He needs to go pay the rent. And it's a little late for the first time in a long time.
Okay. Go on. Something's gotta happen.
Yeah, something's going to happen. And on this unimportant task, his girlfriend is thinking, you need to put your name on the list for the test. She accosts him because he walks by her place of work. I'm not sure what she does exactly right now. Maybe somebody can help me with the supporting characters. When they get to the supporting characters, let us know what supporting characters are doing. But he passes by where she's working, and she's like, hey, where are you going? And he's like, I gotta go pay the rent. And she's like, well, that's on the way to being able to put your name on the list. It's really time, it's getting cramped at your parents' house. You should also put your name on the list for us to get our first place, And he's getting overwhelmed with all of these pressures that his girlfriend's putting him under, and he's got all of these issues with the society he lives under, and he doesn't feel like he has options in this world.
Okay. Can I put forward at this point that only people get the people if they don't have the procreation test passed and they have been allowed to procreate, they're the only ones who get a house to move their family in. Otherwise, you live in a literal bed. It's a bunk with a wash basin. That's it. That's all you get. So that's what the single people get. Or the people who failed the procreation test. It's basically a bed that you share with whoever's not on shift. It's like a hot bed system. Does everybody agree with that?
Alright.
Okay. So it's not a very nice place. I think who was number 3? Oh yeah, we're going to Sai. Sai, which of the... sorry, get rid of that. Sai, which of the tasks do you want? Which of the next do you want?
I was thinking about the small disaster one as everybody was speaking.
We haven't gone to level 2 yet. Level 3 yet. We're still on level 2.
Oh, okay, so we're still on level 2. So it's either meet the villain or meet the supporters?
Yes.
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 Okay. So I think it's still too early for the villain as well. So I'm going to go with the supporters. So I'm going to say that our main character Donovan has a best friend who works with him in wherever he works in the industrial sector, and they kind of work together usually at neighboring stations, and this is going to be his best friend named Thackeray. And yeah, Thackeray. So him and Thackeray are pretty tight, and when he goes to work at some point during the scene, he ends up telling Thackeray, hey, my girlfriend really wants me to take this test to be able to procreate. I don't really want to do that. And his best friend is like, well, then don't do it. Like, don't let people pressure you into something you don't want to do. And so that's what's going on with his support system. And back at home with his grandfather, who we're going to name...
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. I'm so sorry. I just want to flesh out the character more, so I've got questions for you. Why doesn't he want to... In a society that values procreation and it helps boost them in that society, I am curious as to why he doesn't want to procreate.
That question should actually fall on me, because
Okay.
I did the opening scene. Yeah. he doesn't want to procreate at this point. He doesn't want to take the test. One, he's off. He's stopped taking the medications, which was in the prompt. He knows he will be tested, and they will want to know why he has broken the law in not taking the pills. He also has questions about the environment that they live in. It seems like they've got a pretty shitty lot. That it's like, well, I've been told I've got to work in this industrial sector. If I don't do the procreation thing, I either live in a hovel with someone else sharing the same bed as me. If I want to procreate, I've got to pass a test to do it. And I live in a room with my grandfather, and I'm 23 years old. Let's say he's 23. I'm 23 years old, and I live in a bedroom with my grandfather, who's always telling me stories about things were different when he was young. Before the war, things were different.
So, when you say he stopped taking the medication, is this like birth control so he's able to technically procreate right now?
He
if
doesn't
he
know.
laying with it.
He doesn't know what's in
If
the
he
medication.
lays.
Yeah, he doesn't know what's in the medication. He's told. They're always told that, like from the prompt, it makes it a healthier society to live in. But he sees like they live in this squalor of a place. How is it healthy? He can't make the correlation, and it's not taking the pills which is making him ask these questions, because he's noticed everyone else who takes the pills doesn't ask these questions. He's standing out, which makes me ask: is Thackeray taking the pills too?
Go back.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Sai.
Yeah, Thackeray is still taking the pills. He's just a very logical thinker in the sense that it's like, if you don't want to do something, don't do it. And so that's the way he was kind of raised in the society. And then I'm gonna pull a I just forgot his name, a Batman, and say that Donovan, his parents, are no longer with them in the living world, and so he just lives it with his grandfather in this house, and he almost feels like kind of responsible for taking care of his grandfather.
Which would allow him to maintain the house, right?
Yes.
Rather than both people living in hovels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have to create 3 characters in the Meet the Supporters. There's sort of like
Okay, I have to create 3 characters.
A friend, like they can be anything. Like it. These are just 3 characters that will help move the story along.
Let's see. Maybe his boss at work. We could do his boss at work. She is a very no-nonsense, follow the rules, strictly taking your medication, doing all the things kind of woman. And her name is going to be Susan.
Is she a support?
Is this an antagonist or a support?
Support.
Okay.
So she's gonna be she's gonna be broken down and shifted later.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, have her grow. So that's just 2 characters, right?
Yeah.
So I need one more. Okay, so then one more would be...
His grandfather?
Could name the grandfather, but I just had a really fun idea.
Okay.
One of the people living on the nearest the wall in one of like those hovels by themselves, their name, and they're going to be a they, their name is going to be Aiden.
Okay.
And they live specifically on the outside because they've gone against everything, and they are the ones starting to try and investigate and learn the truth about the society.
Okay. I have a question. You said Aiden is a they.
Yes.
Okay, and that's how they identify, and fair play to them. But just for antagonistic reasons, what was their birth gender? Or whatever the correct term is to say that. But what is the government gender?
I'm thinking that they were identified female at birth.
Okay, thank you. Trevor, let's meet the villain. And I just want to give a point to the rest of the group here when we're talking about the villain. Meet the villain does not mean we have to physically meet them at that point. Meet the villain can imply who the villain is. And we can meet them physically later. Go on, Trevor. Sorry.
All right. So, I have a grand idea for this villain.
Oh, no.
Right.
And the villain's name is Bob.
It's not Bob. You
This villain's name.
Robert.
This is the president of our town. His name is Bobbington.
You thwarted me again, damn you, Billings.
You just made me spit out my water.
What's the name of the city? Because this would be a good place to reveal it in the story.
Bobbingville.
It was formerly known as Boston, and now it's.
And now it's what?
Bobberville.
Bobberville. So, President Bobbington of Bobberville. Okay. So, we just joined. Thomas the Tank Engine just came into this. All right. Okay.
So,
Oh my god.
the way that we're going to meet President Bobbington is that they're going to. Whatever our. Donovan's name, Donovan, is going to be leaving work one day. And he's going to hear the siren. And he's going to see the big gate by the outside ring of the city open. And President Bobbington is going to be driving down in his, let's just call it a bright red and white suit, because it needs to be loud. And he's going to have this little funky little mustache and a pair of glasses. And he's going to be driving, and his car is going to be painted striped red and white. And if you think I'm outlining a visible for Colonel Sanders, you are correct.
Okay.
So he's going to come drive.
Sanders, okay.
And so President Bobbington is going to drive down the street, and that's all we're going to see of him. Possibly even, running over an old lady that decides to not get out of his way fast enough. Who knows? Something awful.
Okay. So this guy is obviously an arrogant sack of suds, right? He has that Colonel Sanders look about him.
Yes.
Very bright colours, quite the opposite of the surroundings in the industrial sector in the cast.
And all he's going to do is just drive on through. That's how we're going to meet him. We're just going to drive on through in the Colonel Sanders mobile. What's up, NK?
Can I make a suggestion to add to this really creepy bad fellow?
Sure.
He is flanked by a bunch of daughters and one son.
Oh.
Yes, he has multiple children.
Let's see. I'm drawing Colonel Sanders right now, by the way.
Okay.
And the thing that he's always gunning for in his tax, and people see always flying into the inner city, is boxes and boxes of spices.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Spice is a big thing.
And they're secret spices, aren't
Specifically
they?
42 different ones.
We're not going there. Patrick, you have to save us from going there. This is not going to be a Kentucky Fried Chicken dystopia.
Please, no. Please,
But I
no.
wanted Kentucky Fried
No,
Chicken.
it's
dystopia.
dystopia. There's supposed to be some seriousness about it. It's not a comedy, it's dystopia.
We're in dystopia.
Here I was.
This isn't comedy.
Here I was, deeply concerned that I would destroy the evening.
I've got to
Wait.
I've got to put the block.
Trevor's working hard.
It's the end of a level. It's time for all three pictures.
Hold on a second. Before we go any further, I do want to clarify. I am putting the block on Trevor a little bit there in my duty as host, because this is dystopia and not comedy dystopia. So
You mean on Colonel Sanders, right? I mean, he can look like Colonel Sanders.
the
but
Colonel
let's not
Sanders
bring the
look,
spice
but the
in.
boxes are spices. No, I'm putting a block on. Yeah,
Thank you.
it's
Thank you.
it's dystopia. It's supposed to be serious. It's not a comedy dystopia. So while I appreciate you lightening the evening, and it is a funny thing to look at, in the outlining process, that is something that goes in the not important column.
These are our drawings,
Goes in
guys.
the graveyard.
I don't think that's graves. I think it's boxes of spice. But
We'll just call them, instead of boxes of spices, we will call them boxes of extravagant goods.
yes,
Actually,
They're
this was the line of
industrial.
houses. This was the line of
I like
houses,
that.
and then that one
like
right
that,
there was
yeah.
the communal bathroom.
okay. All right then. They just look like boxes. Okay. We have to have some allowance for Trevor's drawing.
There's our
ability here.
characters. There's our supporting characters.
Okay. So, just to review,
Okay.
because we are at the end of level 2, the supporting characters are Thackeray, who's a bit of a logical thinker, just, ABC kind of guy, right? And then we have
Zachary right there.
Then we have Susan, who is very much toes the line kind of boss at the factory, and the third one was whom?
Grandpa.
Aiden.
No, it was Aiden.
Aiden.
They, them.
Who's somehow become aware that that Donovan is seeing the world differently, right? And he's making friends with him. They are making friends with Donovan.
Yes.
Possibly. Maybe they're just on the outskirt right now. Maybe they
Okay.
haven't met yet.
Maybe they haven't met yet. Okay, but this is something
I
that's...
have a question
Okay.
about Thackeray because this is going to be a hang up for me if I were writing this. Thackeray in this medication induced that helps you not ask questions. We've got a very logical thinker. I need a medical reason for why Thackeray is a logical thinker. Maybe he metabolizes the medication faster. Maybe I need a medical reason why he's a little bit more with it.
It doesn't necessarily have to be medication-wise. It could be conditioning. Kind of like when you're abducted, you get Stockholm Syndrome. When you get indoctrinated into a societally idea of this medication makes you the perfect citizen, you take your medication, I'm going to be a perfect citizen, I'm going to toe the line, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do because I'm going to be the model citizen.
And I think that
But
works
he's
for
the
Susan.
opposite of that.
He's not the opposite.
But Thackeray's kind of arguing towards helping his friend to break free of those chains, which tells me he has the ability to argue within himself for both sides.
Or could it be that perhaps later in the story, this individual could be the one to kind of stir the pot and, hey, yeah, do your thing, yeah, uh-huh. And then when something happens or something comes in, he could be the one like, yep, there's your problem, child.
That's what I'm wondering is this person actually...
Can I throw something in the mix here? A medical reason and something that covers the logical thinking. Perhaps the medication that the government are telling Thackeray to take isn't the only medication he's taking.
Okay.
And that gives him, he's using something that would be considered an illicit drug, but it's not really a narcotic so much as it's just stops the other pill working.
Could
It's
I
like
throw
an
something
inhibitor.
else in there?
Yeah.
Charcoal.
Sure.
Go on, Harper.
Okay. So, like with me, there are some medications that just do not affect me. I'm just that way with them.
Immune.
Like morphine does not touch me. and I can still feel the pain. No matter how much they give me, it's going to be there. So could it also be a thing like that where this person has a natural immunity to the medication?
Yes, I think that we need to have something like this where he is having a reaction or an inhibitor that is not speaking to the medications that he should be reacting to properly.
Can I throw something else in there? He's considered, like, perhaps he does have the resistance and he does take another medication, because he is free enough to make that choice to decide to take something else. So there's a mix of the two, and then you get the final say on this, by the way, Si, because you're the person who picked the support cast, right? But I would also say he might be considered a bit simple in comparison to other members of the city of Bobbington. No, whatever. The city formerly known as Boston. And he can't take the procreation test. He's banned from taking it. So, him being banned from taking it, he's like, well, don't take it then. I don't have to. So, he appears simple, but he's actually not. It's just the fact that the drugs and the illegal substance he's taking, which isn't that bad a thing. It could be something like Tylenol, But, and that, those combined, it makes people, he's just barred from taking the test. So when he says to Zachary, hey, don't take, when Thackeray says to Donovan, don't take it, he's just like, I don't have to take it as well. So it's a mix of those three things.
It's up to you, Si. You're the one in the driver's seat.
I kind of like that idea of having him taking maybe some other medication for like an injury or something. Like maybe he had a workplace injury, he walks with a limp, has a let's say he lost a foot and so he has like a prosthetic, and in order to deal with the pain he has some sort of other medication that they don't realize interferes with it, and that causes them to just think a little bit more logically and to not qualify for this kind of stuff.
This makes me want to branch off with the potential of anybody who has a percentage of anybody who has this kind of injury on that kind of medication could be masking their differential thoughts.
You can save that one for B story.
Anyways, let's move on.
Okay, we've completed. Go on. I heard somebody else. No? Okay.
It wasn't me, at least.
Okay. So do we have any questions at this point? Anything that we need clarification on before we go on to Act 2? Act 2 is always my fun one. Not
I was
Level 3, sorry. Level 3, not Act 2.
not gonna lie, I'm loving the idea of our bad guy right now.
Okay. So, our bad guy is not a nice person. And did he run down the person who got in the way or not?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. And he has multiple children, like how many daughters and how many sons?
I don't think
I vote
we
he's
kept
lost
track
count.
of it.
I vote he's lost count. He doesn't know how many.
He's at least 47.
Trevor.
He's got a harem.
He has how many kids?
Does he have a harem?
He's got a harem. I just said he's got a harem.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that where some of the kids who get sent to education go to? Like, that they become parts of
Sure.
Well, no, we can determine that later. We can determine that later. Alright. But he's got multiple children that he's lost count on, right? Is that what we're going with?
Can we update something for Aiden?
Yes.
What if Aiden is one of his children?
Ah.
Yes. And as they're going past in this meet the villain thing, he kind of notices that where everyone looks away, looks down at the ground, Donovan stays looking up. There's something that stands out about Donovan as he drives past. You get the final say on that, Trevor.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Could have changed his name or something, or they could have changed their name at something or something, and
Well, hold on, because we've got two different story parts here. So, is Aiden still living on the by the wall?
Yeah.
But he is the son of.
But he was banished by the president because of whether they decided to go as they or
Yes. Yeah,
whatever thing came about.
that's
And-
good. Because science fiction is supposed to tackle current arguments
yes,
and reflect our society, so that works really well. Is that a question,
Yeah.
MK?
No, I didn't have a question. I was just going to add also he had her rejection, their rejection, sorry, Aiden's rejection of, original gender.
Yeah.
Father has a marriage that he wanted for
And
the child.
I just looked this up for the I just looked this up for the proper wording. It's assigned gender is the gender that you're given at
Assigned.
birth, and then the
Thank you.
gender which you identify as is your genre, the gender. So,
Thank you.
so
Your
that
genre.
it becomes your your gender. So it's your assigned gender at birth, and then
Yeah.
and then it is your what you identify as. Okay,
So it's Aiden, right? It's
Aiden.
Aiden's.
Yeah.
Aiden's their name, right?
Aiden's his name, and Aiden identifies something different about Donovan in the crowd, and that's why he's going to see this as a potential ally, right?
Okay.
We all okay with
Like
that?
that.
yep.
Okay, we've
Yep.
got a story
Ooh,
started.
I
Okay,
got one more question.
okay.
Is there a possible romance between Aiden and Donovan?
Si, it's
I
up to
don't
you.
think I don't think it needs.
Why
it in
is
this
that
story.
up to me?
I don't think it needs to be in this story. I think representation.
Oh,
is
A lot
there.
of science, a lot of dystopian has been going towards an interwoven romance, so that's why I ask.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put a block on it either way, because if that's
I'm
the
not
way the
forcing.
if it's
I'm
relevant to
not
the
forcing.
if it becomes relevant to the story in a way that does not detract from it being a dystopia and not slipping into another genre, I'm cool with it. But so long as we stay with the dystopia being the genre and not going into romance, all right? Do we all in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Anyone object? Strongly object? Gonna send me anthrax? No? Okay.
I might send you a cat.
Or 3 little chihuahuas.
Dun, 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 dun. Alright, so we are going on to level 3.
All right.
And level 3, to give a reminder to those watching, we don't have much of a live audience tonight, but I think that might be because of the difficulties we had at the beginning. But to bring
Probably.
up level 3, there are our options. Can you see those, guys, when I bring them up?
Negative.
No.
Not yet, at least.
Okay.
That's why I had to print mine out so I could see it.
Level 3 is a small disaster. Something learned, something motivating, a great catastrophe, and the game is afoot. And you can use those in any order except the game is afoot. That kind of has to stay last because that's where we break into Act 2, right? So a small disaster, something learned, something motivating, and I think I already got a good idea of what the something motivating will be in this story, and a great catastrophe. Okay, Patrick, it's up to you, mate.
I have an idea.
Alrighty. I'll do a small disaster.
Okay.
So it's not a true disaster, but something which it can kind of distresses the protagonist is as the villain, Mr. Bobbiton, is driving by. He's noticing that he's not looking down, and he calls him over, kind of like thinking, "Hey, maybe you'll be a good match for one of my daughters." But when our main character says, "No, no, thank you," he kind of gets his family put under the spotlight. So he's like, "So where do you live? So you're single, so you must live in the shared area." "No, I actually have a house. I take care of my grandfather." "Oh, who's your grandfather?" So then he starts feeling like, this guy's fishing for information. This is going to be a dangerous situation for my family. I need to get out of here. And he goes to turn to leave, and he runs smack into his girlfriend. He's like, "Hey, I got off work early. Let's go sign up for testing. Let's go to get testing." And she keeps pushing him. And the president says, "Okay, yeah, you have a girlfriend. Oh, I understand why you don't want one of my daughters. But yeah, you're going to go sign up for testing right now." And he gets forced into signing up for testing.
Is the president going to go with them as like a soundbite kind of thing to go on TV?
He sends two of his guards, armed guards, to escort them to the front of the line for testing.
Awesome. Brilliant. That's going to drop it right in Harper's lap now.
Okay.
That's a good twist, by the way, Patrick. I like it. So, Harper...
And I still have these options, correct?
Yes, you do.
I am going to save...
All except a small disaster.
I'm going to save his keister.
Okay.
Because about the time that they got put in the front of the line, there's a huge explosion in one of the refineries. And a whole river of molten metal comes flowing down the road and takes out the testing center.
Okay.
Harper.
Sabotage.
Dun 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 dun!
Sabotage. Now, I have to sort of like, if you're going to do a great catastrophe, you have to give us greatness here, right? So I
thought that was pretty great.
It's great.
Molten bodies.
It's great.
Burning up in the...
Tell us what's happening. That's what I mean. Tell us what's happening.
Okay.
Yeah, let's show me. Don't tell me.
So, when this explodes, everybody dodges around. He runs away from the testing center. There's bits of hot, flaming metal going all through the air. A big chunk of it goes right through the president's chest. There's a big gaping hole there where he had no heart to begin with. And
We've killed the president?
I killed the president. It was either that or his girlfriend, one of the two.
He's our villain.
Yeah.
He's dead.
Well,
Okay, so the girlfriend.
I love how she's
Chaos.
just
yeah, you can't.
He's dead.
You can't take out. Yeah,
Okay, so it's his girlfriend. We will take out his girlfriend. There's this huge, massive burning hole in her chest as this metal goes right through her. And then all of a sudden there's this rumbling and the buildings are falling apart and there's smoke and there's flames starting to light as this molten metal comes down the street and sets everybody and everything on fire. You hear people screaming like it's Pompeii and they're running away from it. And you can smell the singed hair and the singed flesh, and people are running by with no clothes, no skin, just boils of, yeah, utter chaos. And they're running by as he's running down the road away from all of this, and he makes it to the outer wall where he runs into Aiden.
Okay. Can I add to this?
Sure.
Just to the people who are running away from the fire and running towards the fall get opened up on towards the wall. The guards open up on them.
That would work.
And
Wait. What'd you say, Monty? My headset just clicked out.
the guards on the wall think it's like a mass attempt at getting out of the city and open up on the people running away from the flames in the direction of the wall, and Donovan's caught up in that, and that's how he meets Aiden. Like, Aiden's like, come here.
What
And
happens to
I
Donovan's
also,
girlfriend?
I'm sorry, what?
What happens to Donovan's girlfriend?
She's dead.
Does she died in the explosion, or did she die by gunfire?
She dies in the explosion because a big chunk of burning metal went through her chest.
I have an illustration for that. You can see it later.
And I was just going to say about the president being killed. Yes, at that point, he's the bad guy. But who says that once he gets killed and, the hero or the protagonist, Donovan, throws the body off to the side to step on the body to get away from the molten lava, that one of his children doesn't take up the villainy to go after Donovan for using the father as the stepstone.
I think Harper wanted to get rid of Colonel Sanders.
I did. I wanted to get rid of
Okay.
Colonel Sanders.
Now that you've argued your point, and the Colonel fell in the fryer.
Yes.
Okay.
Wait.
He's
there's
extra
more.
crispy now.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more. His oldest son's
He's
name is
special
Coriander.
Oh, no, his oldest son can't be Coriander.
So I have a little additive
I don't object to the name
that I want
Coriander.
to suggest.
Yes?
I have a little additive that I want to suggest is that when Donovan meets up with Aiden takes Donovan and is like, "Hey, I know a way out of this chaos into
Exactly.
another sector."
Exactly.
So who's actually dead?
Okay. I would prefer the president to be double fried and crispy and gone. And the girlfriend to be gone too. Because that way it opens up a way for Aiden and Donovan to be a couple.
So
All right, hold
normally
on.
under
I gotta draw him
system-
saying, "Oh my chicken."
Hold on. Normally under Monty's system, I would say
My niblets.
Hold on.
of this, readers wouldn't see this coming. So I love so much about this chaos that I kind of want to. I vote go for it. Let's go for
and
it.
Sai really wanted an explosion as well, because I saw her in the comments. She said, "Yes, I really wanted an explosion." And I have no objection to,
Yes, we got rid of Colonel Sanders.
You could say right now it's a finger licking good.
I'm hooked on this.
Yeah,
I love this.
Now, I will say dystopia, not romance of any kind, alright? So it has to stay dystopia. So cool that become a couple if they do, but it has to stay dystopia.
So what if they get tested and they prove that they're compatible? What are you going to do then? Are you going to deny the romance then?
We haven't gone fully into the testing yet, right?
Okay.
We
Okay.
haven't gone
Just
fully into what
saying,
the test
there's
is.
possibilities. There's possibilities.
Yeah. I am
Okay.
I'm hoping nobody says anything before it gets to a game is afoot, but if they do, they do, because that's the way the show works. But I have an idea about what the testing will be involved.
Okay.
And it's me next anyway.
Oh, crap.
Well, there's still other things that we still have to cover.
Yes, in this section. Yes. So we've got the great catastrophe going on. There's molten metal. There's buildings for collapsing and everything. Girlfriends with chests gaping open. The colonel now looks more like the George Hamilton colonel. Showing my age there, didn't I? Do you remember the door lamp? The George Hamilton one was gold plated in the
What?
commercials. Yeah, when it's back in the early 2000s when Reba McEntire and they were all doing their little bits, and he was gold. He was the golden colonel, not George. Okay,
I didn't watch a lot of TV.
Google it.
Anyway,
Okay. So Aiden says, "Hey, come here," and Aiden's helping him. And what's happening with Patrick right now? Patrick went
He's
for
eating.
he went for the snacks.
we were talking about crispy fried chickens. He's hungry now.
He grabbed the snacks. This is gonna go deep.
This is a very hungry story. Thank you. This is a
And if his name is Corey, Corry, and his last name is Anders, I have no objection to Coriander being his name.
Look, as long as all 47 of his children are each named after a different herb and spice, I'm fine with it.
Yes.
I'll let that pass.
You can have Rosemary.
That could be the daughter's name. One of the daughter's name.
Yeah. Yeah, but
We're running out of time here. Let's go. Come
yeah,
on.
and Paprika is copyrighted, by the way, by Blue's Clues. So, have you got anything to add?
No,
Oh,
good.
me or anybody?
Yes, you.
No, I think we pretty well covered it. Like I said, Aiden grabs him, pulls him over, says, "Here, I can help you out of this. Follow me."
Okay. So I'm going to take something learned. And this is where Aiden reveals the truth about what the testing is and what the testing's for. And the testing essentially sterilizes 90% of the population. And it allows
How?
they go through a medical procedure while they're in there, but it's done in such a way that no one remembers it. They know they've gone for a procedure to take for if they have the ability to procreate healthy children, because of the radiation residues that were left after the Great War, to see whether the children will be mutated. That's what they tell them. It's actually because the food supplies are so limited they can only support the inner circle, and what doesn't support the inner circle, the majority of that goes to the military circle, the military caste. The industrial caste is only there to continue to make life better, and provide strengthening for the walls, tools for the military. It's all based on preserving the inner circle. And the industrial sector that's what it does. It just works to make ammunition and stuff. It's like a war machine, and it's providing for a war that's happening far off in the distance. You know what I mean? It's like happening overseas on another continent, but this war is what everyone's fighting, and that's what the industrial machine is doing. It's providing for this army, and the children that are taken are only bred when there's a military shortage. And it turns out that the military can procreate as much as they want, and they have concubines and breeding stations, like where they can go and basically turn women into baby farms. And the ones who are proven to be the most fertile are sent into the military circle, and they are used for making babies essentially. And obviously the inner circle don't send their kids off to fight, because hey, they're the inner circle. They are the senator's son, And so it turns out, like, if you are selected to go into the soldier sector, into not the soldier but into the military sector, you are actually providing not only military service, you're providing the next generation's military service as well.
Do the ones that don't qualify for the military get bumped out to the outer?
Yes. And so do the wounded. But they have
That's
their
where the factory comes from.
they have their memory wiped.
What if Grandpa was ex-military?
And what if Thackeray was military and that's how he got injured?
But he doesn't know.
Good point.
So it turns out that basically the industrial machine is not so much about producing industry, it's about producing a military and fighting a war. And they are basically, the food they get is leftover food. It's like gruel, like the meals they get. He actually tells him at this point all it is kelp grown on human waste. It's like recycled. Aiden says you're eating recycled shit. You know, he's like, everything that comes out of the industrial zone stays in the industrial zone. And the pills, the majority of the pills that you're taking are vitamin supplements. You know, just to make up for the crap that you're eating. And he tells him the truth. He tells him all of everything about what this old test it is and what it's for. And he was supposed to have been not exiled but completely 86'd. He was supposed to have been taken out and banished, but the people let him in, let him live. And he says, drum roll please, who let you live? And he says, what's your last name again? And that's Grandpa. And Grandpa is living in this forced exile, making believe he's a dribbling old man, but he's not. He is actually a former presidential guard who found out the truth.
All right.
Do we have any questions? Any objections?
No?
Do you like that twist?
Yeah, it makes for an interesting round.
Yeah. So, MKKKKK. Which one do you want?
Give me a second to get the list back up.
Okay.
Okay. I got the list back up. So we are something learned, something motivating. We already did a great catastrophe. Game is afoot. So
We did something learned as well. I just did that.
you did something learned, yeah. Something motivating. Grandpa's in danger. His identity has been obscure, but he's now in danger in light of this recent explosion and believed attempt against the president. And although Aiden has taken Donovan into another sector of the city, Donovan has now, he's understanding things a bit better. He needs to go back to Grandpa. He needs to get back to him.
And
he believes save him, but it's kind of, for him at this moment, it's just to assure himself that Grandpa's okay, but ultimately it comes down to he does need to save Grandpa.
okay. So at this point,
His grandpa is definitely in danger, but for him and his limited knowledge of the level of danger, although he's understanding things better, he thinks it's just to assure himself that Grandpa's okay.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a little bit more and say, is the great motivation to save Grandpa, or is it what happens when he reaches Grandpa?
I think I'm kind of torn. I feel like we're getting to the point where we need an actual emotional loss that sparks more out of our main character to start making real moves
Okay.
here. So I feel that we need to lose Grandpa, and it needs to be real gut-wrenching.
Can I?
But
Hold on a sec, Harper. Let me hear the thought out first, then we'll come to you. Go on.
I feel like we need to have Grandpa die here, in a rather, like, you know, in the movie Hunger Games, we have the old man who puts up his fingers.
Yeah.
And they brutally attack him, and it's like they use him as the signal to the rest of that district, you need to get into submission. I want them to use Grandpa as their totem of sabotage. Like, they think, in a way, he's behind the sabotage, and even if he isn't, they're going to use this old man as the message to the sabotagers.
Okay.
And they take care of him very publicly.
I'm going to go to Harper first, and then I've got an idea I want to throw into the mix.
Okay, I was going to say that Grandpa could have been like a munitions expert in the military, and that's why they are aiming at him, because it was similar to the way he used to create explosions. But when they catch up to him, they take him to the main gate of the outer ring, and they get ready to basically pin him to the wall and leave him there to suffer screaming while he's nailed to the main gate of the wall.
Very Margaret Atwood.
I would suggest, since we already know that those gates open because the president came in that way, have them strung up and have them slowly stretch them and open the gates that way.
Drawn and quartered that way, yeah, that would work.
And my thing is, I want Grandpa to shout, "Avenge me!
Spartacus!
Avenge me!" They may tear me apart, but it's nothing compared to what they're doing to your lives.
I like that.
I wouldn't want him to speak to his grandson that way. I would want him to speak to the crowd.
Everyone,
Right.
The masses.
This has got to
You
be
know.
a big. This is almost like the completely fictitious Braveheart going, freedom, because he was never in the Tower of London. But he wasn't. It's the most factually inaccurate movie ever made. But on saying that, the symbology of, symbols have meanings. They're an idea, and behind ideas are bulletproof.
Grandpa needs to be our martyr to really spark the rebellion, the revolution, and our main character into true action.
Nice. Anybody got anything to add to
There
that?
you go.
Because I'm buying this now. I am buying this story. I'm in.
Yes.
Has anyone got anything to add?
I tend to off your characters, Monty. I'm sorry.
What
I
did you-
tend to always off the characters on when I wind up on your projects. I'm just
Well,
Yeah, that wasn't my character.
I
Well, it
George
was
Martin
my
your stuff.
Well, Harper got rid of mine. I mean,
character. Yeah, but
Yours had to
yours
go.
had to go.
mine was perfect.
We did the story a favour.
Mine
Only
So-
one that was a fan of the villain.
Well, would this be a point where perhaps Donovan might go back to the shared house and it's already been ransacked by the guard, and he's trying to find bits and pieces to make more of the connection to Grandpa's history?
I think that would be a part of the game is afoot,
Okay.
because we are moving towards Act 2 rather rapidly now because we know this. So I think we are going to go to Sai and see what Sai does.
I kind of like that idea that Patrick just threw out, the going back, realizing the house was ransacked, and then being like, who do I go to for information? And that's when Donovan turns to Aiden, that person who saved him, pulled him out of the way, goes back to them, and kind of rehashes everything with Aiden, even though, Aiden was there. They watched everything that was going on with the drawing and quartering of his grandfather. And Aiden says, look, I've got 2 sets of plans here that I made away with when I ran away from my father. This is like maybe where we get the big reveal that the father was our president who is now gone. And Aiden says, I've got 2 sets of plans. One that will get us out and we just leave this whole world behind, or one that's going to take us forward into the depths, the bowels of the monster. And then Donovan has a choice to make and ends up choosing to go for the one that is going to take down the society that they are all dealing with.
Nice. So they decide to go with the plan. Plan B.
Yes.
They're going to break the city.
Mm-hmm.
No better game is afoot, right? There's no better game is afoot moment than that, right?
Burn it down.
Yeah, this is season 1 finale in a TV show.
Ooh.
Yeah. So.
Patrick.
Break the wall.
Yeah.
Break the wall.
Yeah. And this is how a dystopian novel should go. It's like the person breaks the dystopia, which brings us back to Trevor.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
We are in Act 4. So we are going to go to Act 4. So at the end of Act 4, we will get another one of your drawings also.
Alright.
So let's look at Act 4.
Right.
Just a quick interruption. Can I take a very quick bathroom break?
I'd hope so.
Okay.
We're going to look at his lovely drawings, so yeah, you got plenty of time.
So here we go. There's our president saying, "Hey, you, go test." Rah! Then there's the explosion. And then there's a girder through girlfriend and president's chest.
Yay.
And there's the molten river. And there's the people running away saying, "Ah!" And then there's the people shooting at him going, "Pew, pew."
Pew pew. Okay. They're stormtroopers.
And then there's our main character saying, "Run!" And then Aiden going, "Come here!" And there's our testing center, and there's the person running it saying, "It's a surprise vasectomy."
Surprise.
Oh my god. Surprise!
I wonder why I'm sore on my fruit.
It takes. Get tested today.
I mean-
It only takes a snip out your day.
Monty, you left it. You're like, well, it sterilizes, and I'm like, surprise vasectomy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, like,
'Cause
it's
they
not
would-
much of a surprise because they don't know about
Yeah,
it.
but they would never sterilize the women because they need them to have children.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Can someone
What
fire
was
the
that?
juggler, please?
Children. I'm sorry. They're throwing plates in the room next door.
Okay. There's a Greek wedding going
Literally.
on over there.
As children do.
Opa!
Wow.
Mine sat there and screamed for about 30 minutes this evening, so I totally...
We have metal plates, so when they fall, they concuss like.
Okay then.
You know
So-
you're not supposed to buy your plates at the music store, right? Those discs, those cymbals, they're for drums, not to eat off of.
You know, they last forever, though.
Okay. Cutlery aside, it's time to move on to Act 2. And we have a bit about the bad guy, which Trevor's not allowed to do.
Thank you.
Really?
Never again.
B story, and that was a joke, Trevor. You can do it, but no cap. We don't want no Colonel Sanders characters, all right?
I'm good at bad guys.
Yeah, but we got to stay with the genre here, mate.
No Colonel Sanders, no Popeyes, no Long John Silver's.
Yeah, no Long
Unless we're
John
on
Silver's.
SpongeBob.
And I'll reiterate, no Long John Silver's ever. As an English person, that still offends me. But let's look at. We have a bit about the bad guy, the B story, and my mind's gone blank. Sorry, it's
Start exploring.
Start exploring.
Start exploring. Yes,
All right.
I wasn't
Well,
lost
then,
really. I
I'm
just
going-
wanted to test you guys.
I am going
Good
to take
cover.
I'm going to take the one that you all know I'm going to take.
Okay, a bit about the bad guy, because we have to introduce a new bad guy now.
Well, yeah. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to change POV here for a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna see Coriander being brought into his new, well, old home, but for the first time he's being allowed into his father's offices.
Yes.
At which point he is going to be basically meeting with the tailor, who is going to fit him for his own red and white suit, and this time he's not going to have the mustache and everything either. But he's going to start asking one of his aides, why haven't we, gone and just expanded our city just a little bit further? The poor need more work. They're obviously not worked well enough. If they're so lazy as to have time to watch me and my father drive down the road, then obviously the poor are not being worked hard enough. Because that is the best way to do it. So he's going to consult with his generals and his military men and his head of industrial zone. And they're going to start talking about how do they build upwards instead of outwards, because, well, it costs a whole lot of money to move a wall. So they're going to figure out how to make even less safe factories. And they're going to start demanding that the poor, the industrial zone, start working even more hours. Yeah.
I have a question.
I
It's only a small one. How high can they build? Because if they build too high, they'll be able to see over the wall into the other casts.
Well, I don't know. I didn't think that far ahead.
Okay.
I got a question / potential additive.
Dig down.
How do you feel, Trevor, about this Coriander's?
Mr. Anderson.
How do you feel? How do you feel about Coriander's actually being the true mastermind behind the explosion?
Ooh, yes.
Nice.
Taking out his finding a way to take out his father,
Very
so that
Roman.
he can assume the role. I like it.
Very,
I just planted the seed. Huh? What'd you say?
very Romanesque.
Hmm.
And I think Patrick and I both said at the same time, dig down.
Yeah,
Take
that works
them
too.
into
On a quick Google search, I did find that generally, like if you get special permits, you can build a factory up to around 100 feet high, which would not be high enough to see over the 200-foot walls. So you could also dig down, but that could also be plausible.
Yeah.
But do they have those rules back then? Or at this point?
I mean that they could theoretically build these factories up to 200 feet high, which 200 feet high is roughly what? Let's just call it 10-foot floors, so roughly 20-story factory.
It's 200 foot.
Yeah,
So
pretty massive factory.
bouncing off of the seed that and the factory and whatnot, maybe Corey is going to his office and trying to build the factories and build up this persona that he is not responsible for this and a whole nother group is.
Okay.
How does he do that in a totalitarian society?
Easily blame the terror the blame the rebels. Blame a rogue group of rebels that nobody's heard of.
Blame those who aren't taking their medicine.
Yeah.
Blame the explosion on the ground being too unsafe, so they have to build up and down because of where the damage was.
Or could he have given Grandpa the abilities to do the explosion, thrown him under the bus, and leave himself totally untouched?
I think he'd have done
And
it.
make...
I think he'd have actually fixed it to make it look like anybody he wanted personally, if he's in that position. I don't think Grandpa
Sure.
would
I
have
feel-
done it.
I don't feel Grandpa did it, but I think Grandpa would have understood exactly how it was done because of his intel experience. And that was probably why they needed to off him, is because he literally would understand exactly how it was done, what was used, how much was used. He knew too much, so he had to go. But I think that Corey would be going to the office to get all of his colonels in order and be offing the ones that knew too much, like literally.
There's-
Right
The other
then.
there's a
the
step
other
on his
thing a
perch.
dictator would the other thing a dictator would most certainly is start getting rid of potential competition. So his 46 other brothers and sisters are gonna have to start disappearing.
Or running away.
I think that this is a patriarchal society. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think that this is a patriarchal society where they don't feel threatened by women. They are carriers, they are breeders, so the men would be the ones that would be
That's true.
the danger.
I'm thinking the Kim family,
Yeah.
right?
And I'm also
Yeah,
thinking
that's-
Stalinist purge.
Right. The same general
Yeah.
idea, frankly.
It just
But I mean, there's no way that somebody's going to leave a potential rival alive when the headache is worth so. The headache, the bullet costs more than the headache,
yeah.
or less than the headache. Sorry.
Quoting Stalin again.
Huh?
So,
Stop
would
using
people be being poisoned, or would they be being bulleted? Like,
I
Oh,
don't
would this
know.
be done quietly or very aggressively?
I
Or
think
what if
they.
they,
Sorry, you go first.
what if they got mind wiped, kind of like the injured soldiers do? Get mind wiped and get sent off to where no one knows them. Because obviously there's more than just this one society town. There has to be something outside of that wall. What if they get mind wiped and traded for goods to another town cluster? Another sector, another city?
Or sent to the front.
I agree with I do generally agree with that, but in this very delicate situation, I think that they would know too much. And if I was a dictator, I'm putting myself in this dictator's shoes.
Right.
Sorry, I would take them out.
Yeah, of course. And
They
then
know
I
too
would
much.
I would start making up crimes too. Start making up crimes.
I would blame it on a rebel element from within inside the industrial sector.
Since you're going to be building new factories and stuff that could make really good footer filling.
Yes. They could just disappear. Oh my gosh, did they go in the explosion? I haven't seen Bill.
Yeah.
He was here this morning.
Where'd Robert go? Did he come back?
And you could put 40 people in the footing real easy.
Right. I mean, where did salt, pepper, onion, garlic, and salt,
You
pepper,
know
onion,
so
garlic,
Okay.
thyme, rosemary?
So, moving on. So we know that Corey in the house is now committing fratricide left, right, and centre. He's doing like some kind of a big Stalinist purge of everyone loyal to his father and replacing him with his own.
Mm-hmm.
Very much Ottoman Empire style, yes.
And we find out that he's culling the pride, and he's 80 framed grandpa. The son of a bitch. And right then, so I think we are going to move to Patrick. And does anyone mind if we run a little over? Because we started late because of the technical difficulties.
I'm okay.
I have to be on the phone at 9.
Okay. Well, do you have any objection to us carrying on?
Oh, no.
Okay. If work's work, you've got to do work, but...
Yeah.
Okay, so Patrick, it's over to you.
Alright, I'll just hit the next bullet point down, and we're going to start having Aiden sneaking our main character around, and they're going to start exploring. But since they are back to where Aiden's origins are, Aiden knows the house frontwards and backwards and knows all the surface entrances and all the passageways to get them around. Not only just the house, but that upper tier of society to get them around without being seen. And our main character, Donovan is seeing outside of his society, his scope. He's seeing outside of the industrial, and he's seeing what the next tier is as they're making their way to Aiden's house. And he's seeing like the world, how just that little wall up to the military level is so much different, how much better it is, how much more food they have, how the whole society is different. He's like, we're down here struggling. We're having a hell of a time down here. You guys are having parties? And it just progresses as the two are going through and finding different things. And Donovan gets hungry, and Aiden's like, well, there's food around. You don't have to just not eat here. And he's just loading him up with the food, and he's feeling bad, and he has that guilt because how is it that I get to eat, but what about all the people back there that are starving? And he kind of gets to explore, and he's starting to learn where weapons are being held, and he's starting to get plots and ideas of, the military did that to my grandfather. I'm going to start going after some of these military people. I'm going to start making a plan in my head of where I need to get weapons and how I need to get them back. And so he starts mapping out a revenge plot of how to sneak weapons out and down to the industrial so the industrial can have a revolution.
Awesome.
Okay.
I'm not going to probe that too much deeper because I think it speaks for itself, unless anyone else has got any questions.
I just want one question. So this is over a long-term exploration, like a couple of days.
Yeah.
He's had enough time. Okay.
Yeah.
and I think we've got just enough time to get the B story from Harper. You've got 9 minutes.
Yeah, I don't.
Mhm.
I
Alright,
don't
try to
really.
hurry.
I have. I've got to get ready for the phone call, and that means putting makeup on and doing my hair. So,
Okay.
because it's a Zoom call.
Okay then. Well, I am going to thank you for attending this evening.
Oh, thank you for
And
inviting me, and it's been quite entertaining. I really appreciated it.
thank you. It was good having you.
I
And
enjoyed
just
seeing
while
you.
while Harper's here, I want to say no one here makes any claim towards any copyright or financial or any other form of compensation should anyone want to take this story and develop it into their own. If we can all get a yes on that, but it has to be verbal.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
it was lovely working with you all. Have a great night.
Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. So that leaves B story for me, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So, um, at this point in the story, we need a B story, and we are gonna go back here after they return from their explorations and seeing the city for what it is. Aidan and Donovan go to Thackeray and Susan and say, "You've got to hide us." And Susan is immediately, "You can't be here. You can't. You are wanted men. You know, you're putting me in danger. You're putting everyone in danger." And everything, like, so, and Thackeray's like, "We can't not protect them. They're our friends." Using his logic, it stands to reason we would protect them. We have to protect them. And Susan's like, "No, we can't do this. I have to do my duty. I have to report you. I have to report your presence here." And in that instance, Aidan puts his hand on Susan's and says, This is where you finally get the answer of what happened to your daughter." And Susan turns around and she goes, "My child was taken for education. She's in a better place. The government told me so." And Aidan tells her what's happening with her daughter, and tells her the truth. Because everyone knows you don't fuck with Mama Bear, right?
Right.
And he said, and Thackeray's like, as he's hearing this, Thackeray's like, "I'm getting a headache," And Aidan says, "It's because you were mind wiped." And he's like, "Dude, there was nothing there to wipe in the first place, you know?" And he's like, you can't just wipe a person's mind and eradicate their memories. It's not possible. He said, "I can understand what you're saying with Susan." Now this is where the tables have turned, because Susan was able to be talked to, and they found a lock. But what we're actually doing here is switching the cliches a little bit, because Thackeray is now the one who is doubting, because it goes against logic. Wiping someone's mind, it goes against his way of thinking. If you disagree with any of this that I'm doing with the characters that you created, Si, you can jump in. And it's at this point that Donovan says, "How did you lose your leg?" He says, "I lost it in an industrial accident." And he said, "Where?" He says, "I can't remember." He says, "So you can't remember the single worst day of your life? You cannot remember?" And he's like, I blacked out. I lost my leg. Oh, I blacked out. I don't remember what happened. And he says, well, where was you working? He says, in the factory. And Susan's like, there's never been an accident here. Not where someone's lost their leg, at least.
All
And
right.
and it's Thackeray's actually getting this. So what we're doing here in the B story is Thackeray is discovering who he was, because they basically give him homemade shock therapy, right? And it unlocks that. It's starting to unlock slowly what he was and what he became, and how he was a soldier, and how he was a good soldier, and how he did everything that was asked of him. But they took that away from him. So the B story here is both the support characters have to find what was taken away from them. I thank you. Any questions, concerns, or any comments?
No, that works out perfectly.
You good with that, Si? Is that the route you had for your characters?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So, like, Susan's fully on board here. She wants to find a daughter. And Thackeray wants to find out what happened to his leg. Once again, the game is afoot, literally.
Yes.
His leg was doused in 47 spices and herbs and deep fried.
Stop it.
So level 5 now.
Yes, we are going to
We're at
level
level
5, which means they are now showing on the screen. And level 5 is the... Sorry.
The first test, realization and actualization, C story, a team is forming, and the second test.
Okay. So, which one of those do you want to take, Si?
Oh, doesn't it go to MK first?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
sorry. MK, sorry, I'm sorry. I skipped you.
Give me a second to. I'm looking at the things right now. So, okay. So the team is forming right now as to a mission. They're in the what you could call a kitchen of Susan's house because she's had a child. Now, we haven't really addressed the connection that Thackeray and Susan has, but I think that they should have a connection, and I kind of want to leave it up to a collaborative vote on what their connection is. I think it should be somewhat familial, not necessarily romantic. What do you think about brother and sister?
All right.
But Susan doesn't remember. She doesn't know everything about him, where he went, what he did.
How
You know.
did, like, he would have been born to the military castes, right?
Yes.
So that would have meant Susan was ineligible to have a child, so she would have been cast down. So making
Yes.
the brother and sisters becomes difficult in the world we've already set up.
Unless their mother was one of the taken for breeding. And basically, she was basically a breed machine, and she had 2 children, and since Susan's female, she wasn't considered military potential, so they just outcast her down to industrial.
Okay.
So here's a suggestion. When he got kicked out of the military, they found him the biological connection and is like, here's your biological closest equivalent to family. So either a cousin or a sibling. A distance, not a...
Yeah.
Huh?
Like, they can say, you raised a child, you had a caring personality, so you've got to look after him.
Right.
Yeah, because something's like Men in Black, he got flashed too many times. Okay? And he's missing a foot. He's missing a foot. And she's a manager. She can take care of him. So she's in a better facility. They're in the kitchen. They're having to talk about the missing pieces that everybody's got. And I don't mean like literal pieces of their body. I mean, Susan's missing a child, the missing pieces of Thackeray's memory. Donovan, right? His grandpa's passed. He's piecing things together. All of this, they're talking about it, and a plan is forming on how to get back into where they just came from, which is Aiden's realm, the higher realm, to get militia supplies, because Donovan started taking notes of where everything was, and Aiden's verified, yes, I know the guard there. He's totally a turncoat. We can turn him. This person, we can totally sneak past this guy. Yeah.
There's a connection here as well that needs to be mentioned. If Thackeray can show his former platoon what they did to him, I know soldiers. If there's a veteran in trouble, you go.
Yeah.
Orders don't matter anymore. So when they see what they did to Thackeray, if he can show his people, you've got a ready-made militia there.
Yeah. That's true.
So they feel they need to get their whole group over to the other side to communicate, to not only bring arms and military goods to the industrial sector, but also to get word to the military that are operating independently on a siege for more land, or for more, whatever the mission of Coriander's is, to expand his dominion. They want to put a stop to it because they know it's going to be problematic for everybody.
Yeah, and Thackeray's not going to question that. One, it's a logical path to finding out about his history. He's a logical thinker. This is how I find out about my past. I believe you. I believe I was military. There's enough coming back to me to know that. I go back there, I tell my people what happened to me, how they cast me down, treated me like this, and that buys into his logic as well. So yeah, it's a good team is being formed. Yeah.
Susan, however, I think needs to actually have her boundaries. She only wants to go as far as where her daughter will be. She has limits. She is the straight lace who doesn't want to break rules, and her rules only let her go as far as Mama Bear level. Take me to my daughter. That's where my road ends. Take me to my daughter.
Yes. The destination can change later.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but I feel Susan will just be like, I'm not here for this. I'm not here for this. Where's my daughter?
Okay.
Let's keep to my plot. Where's my daughter?
Okay. Sigh.
That's it.
Okay, so, I mean, I think the most logical place to go is obviously like the first test, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so going into like the first test, I feel like from what we're going off of is that Aiden and Donovan are already kind of like in the president's mansion area, wherever he lives, and then Susan and Thackeray are still back in the industrial sector. So the first thing they have to do is be able to come back together to make a plan together. Like that would be their first test, is finding a way to get in the same spot.
Well, they were.
They
all
were in the
kitchen.
same spot for mine. They were
Oh,
in the
okay,
kitchen.
okay. Never mind
Team is
then.
formed.
Okay, so the team is formed. The first test would be then for them to, if we're going the route of wanting to get the militia behind them, would be to go find a way into like the military sector, because we have the industrial sector that's in like that circle. I would bet that the military would have its own circle, right?
Yep.
And so that would be where I would go with the first trial, is maybe Aiden doesn't know how to get into all the different sectors because this is just where they grew up, was this mansion area, and then they knew how to get from there to the industrial because of whatever reasons. Now they've got to figure out a way to find the plans to get into the military sector.
And then get there.
Yeah.
I've got my hand raised.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe this is where, as they go deeper in the first test, Thackeray can have, as he's in that realm, in that circle realm, some memories coming back, and him having ideas of where to go. Not a very reliable leader in that sector, and probably messes up a lot.
That could be the test. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I like that a lot. The idea that maybe even because the military sector is this really huge secret, almost have like a Maze Runner moment where the path to get into the military sector is guarded by booby traps and tricks and mazes, and they have to find the right direction to go. You get like a Daedalus's labyrinth. How do you track where you've been and where you haven't?
Okay. You mixed your mythology there, by the way. Daedalus flew to the sun. It was Tetris.
Icarus was the sun. Daedalus was the maze.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
I thought Daedalus was his father. I thought Daedalus was Icarus's father.
Yeah, Daedalus is Icarus's father. Daedalus built the labyrinth that hosted the Minotaur, and then him and his son Icarus had to escape.
I didn't know that. Sorry. Okay.
I have so much Greek mythology on my shelf back here.
Okay. I
Like, don't test me.
I honestly, genuinely thought so. I stand corrected. Every day you learn something new, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we need a big mech at this point as well. I think it's time for
What?
a big mechanical beast that they have to thwart, because there's always a beast. It like a beast type character, like in the Hunger Games. It was those creatures under the wave under the city. That was, you need something within that maze. You need something that's sort of like
The Mecha Minotaur.
Oh god, I like it. A Mecha Minotaur.
Yeah.
I love it.
Instead of it being a mechanical beast, you could actually have it be all the deformed people that they can't really push into the industrial, but they can actually just use as like
parts. You could have a Dr. Frankenstein chimera type thing going on.
Yeah, not a full on chimera, but sort of like cybernetic modifications to people, like Lobots with attitude.
For stylistic reasons, I feel it kind of just feels a little out of place for the story. It's just my opinion. It just feels kind of out of, not the mechanical, it's for some reason like the maze stands out to me. I feel like what's drawing me is a maze-like atmosphere. So I feel the maze, but the maze runner aspect kind of weirds me out. I feel like a maze with almost stormtrooper vibes. Like,
yeah, I think that's what I think that's what Sai was implying. Not the Maze Runner maze, but how the Maze Runner had the booby traps in it and the maze shifted and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Almost like in Star Quest when they're trying to get through the underbelly of the ship in Galaxy Quest. You had all the things that they had to go through. When Sigourney Weaver accidentally dropped the F-bomb and they had to dub it out.
Oh gosh.
It's a classic movie reference. They actually left it. They put it back in for Cable.
Really?
Yeah. She runs around the corner and it's like, we've got to go through that, and she says, "Fuck that." And it was meant to be a joke to try and catch Tim Allen out, and he just kept going. It didn't phase him at all. He just kept going. It was like the joke backfired on her. But they did put it back in. Sorry, I digress there, but it's a funny moment that needed attention. So when we're talking about this maze, the maze isn't the Maze Runner maze. It's like a labyrinth of barracks and training grounds and stuff like that. Like they're having to go through the training grounds.
Yeah, my brain, every time I just think of a maze, I always jump to Maze Runner first.
Okay,
but it's just
okay. This would be very interesting, is if Thackeray accidentally led them to the training ground, and they're literally in the training ground area by accident while they're in, what do you call it when you're literally in training? Active training drills.
Training.
And there's bullets. Well, and there's bullets flying. And if this
Live
is
fire.
like Maze Room,
It's a live fire.
live fire.
Yeah.
And like the ground will drop out from under you. That would be absolute chaos.
I've
And
got
It would be.
I've got this really cool idea that I wanted to use in a story, and I think I've never been able to fit it in, but I think it would fit here. If they went into a maze that was sniper evasion training, right? And Zachary remembered, it fires because it's simulated sniper fire. It can fire every 3 seconds. So they're running, and it's like 1, 2, 3, down, and they have to get through, but they're running the sniper labyrinth. You know what I mean? It's like, do you know what I'm saying? It's like they have to move in sections to try and get past this. And it can be
This
as
would
they're
be
getting as they're getting more and more tired, it's harder to make that 3-second run between covers.
especially
This would be a
since
really
you're in the midst
interesting
of a maze.
test. This would be a really interesting test to pull him into his old character, to literally pull him
Back into that
into
military
his old
mindset.
self.
Hmm. You can take the soldier out of the field, but you can't take the field out of the soldier. So yeah. Do you agree with that, Si? Because you get the last call on this.
Yeah, I love that idea of pulling Thackeray back into the military, having them not knowing where they're going necessarily and relying on like the half memories that Thackeray has, and then having to dodge the sniper because they're in a live fire in the moment. Oh, that's really good.
It's almost like a reverse PTSD, in a flash forward.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, he was in this state of complete bliss, and now he's there back in action.
Yeah.
And it could happen just from literally opening the door, where he's like, this will open us to the military section. And it's like, oh, whoops.
Yeah. We've got
What-
3
what
seconds
is this?
move. And then if he's shouting like, prepare to move, roll, you slide back before you get up, and he starts shouting at him like, like your anti-sniper drills. Slide back, roll, move. Slide back, roll, move. Dash down, call, sights,
Yeah.
observe. It's all that kind of stuff's coming out of him as he's doing it. I like it. Well done, Si.
Yay!
Yeah, so this is the first test. They've got through the training grounds right then, because that's the end of the first test. The team's formed, they've got through the training grounds. There's a
Yeah.
question where do we put I'm going to call them the breeding grounds for one. Are they under the mansions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just needed
Because
to get the geography.
that way, your men who are well suited with lots of money can go and participate in any activities that they choose with the one that they choose.
Yeah.
What a horrible thought.
Yeah.
Yes.
I protest. I protest. I think that men still love arm candy and they love beautiful women, and so they would, in many cases, like their specific women to be assigned to them, especially one specific. And then there could be the bottom brothel section. There's the ones for the. Sorry, this is gonna sound really insensitive, but the paper bag girls.
Like in
Brown bag Betty.
like in the
Glo-
Handmaid's Tale.
Glory hole city,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. The Handmaid's Tale have the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The club that's
Yeah.
outside Boston that they go to they take their handmaidens there when they want to not do it.
Yeah, so I think that there should be two. I think that there should almost be two societies of breeders, just like Handmaid's Tale, you could say. Except in Handmaid's Tale, there is one side that can't breed, and they're the wives, and then there's the breeders. I think that there should be the pretty breeders that they're proud to have on their arm, and then the ones that they're just like, okay,
So
here's a good
essentially,
Saturday night.
if you're comparing this to the Handmaid's Tale, the ones in the industrial zone are the non-women. Sorry, Handmaid's Tale.
Or the non-shows.
Handmaid's Tale is one of my favourite books, so it's like I've read it like 5 times. Testament's good as well. There you go.
This is how red mine is. It's very worn.
So yeah, they've made their way through. We know. I just wanted to get that geography point right. So we're gonna go to Trevor.
Alright. Let's see. What do we have left? Let's see. Alright, so what do we have left? We have C Story and Team is Forming?
Team East Forming's done. We have C Story.
C Story left. Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna save you from C Story in the interest of time. I think C Story needs to be that moment when Susan meets her daughter.
Yeah.
I agree.
Who's now old
That-
enough, you know.
That could make a little bit of sense. She just kind of runs into her while they're in the process.
I think it should be with Coriander. Susan's daughter is with Coriander.
Maybe.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
she's
Have her have them bust into the room, thinking, okay, this is where the daughter's at, and Coriander's got his pants at his ankles.
Okay.
I mean, we could go there, but we could also have Coriander's chosen woman actually being like, I'm paired with the president. What are you doing here, screwing this up for me?
I would like to. I think the C Story should be like a Stockholm Syndrome thing,
Yeah.
and Susan's got a deprogrammer. You know, like when you're in a cult, these girls who go with the cult leader, that's their husband. They're on God's duty. You know.
Yep.
I think she should betray her mom. I think she should totally betray her mom.
Oh yeah, totally.
And that's the C Story. But the mum won't betray her. The mum will not leave her. She will.
They'll go
So
down with that ship.
yeah.
You show me a mother of sound mind who would. You're going to be hard pressed to find one, right?
I'm sorry, you just said a mother of sound mind.
I know, it's
When
okay.
we have our children, we don't have sound mind.
But you know what I meant. You know what I
I'm
meant.
gonna say that.
Do
I was
not
not
get in
with
between.
a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, you know what I meant. I was like, she wouldn't be making the logical choice. Like Thackeray would have a hard trouble understanding that. You know, it goes against all sense for you to stay here.
Yeah.
You know, like even if they take the daughter with them and the daughter's protesting and screaming, which I think would be good. It's like that deprogramming thing. and even though they've betrayed and they've had to escape, and it's put all their plans in jeopardy, so they've got to make a tactical withdrawal with this girl kicking and screaming. You know.
Kind of a bit like we're going to all the dystopia we know, but Peter Millark, what he had to go through with all the deprogramming after he was programmed.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, all right. Well. Hey, there's the C story is pretty quick, fast, and easy. Then
I thought that'd be
Well, and
quick,
that-
and, you know, because we pressed for time. I think it'd be quick to just put out
Yeah.
there. That's what's happening.
well, then I'd
But
like
that
to go
also
ahead and
could be the first stumble too, because if she's fighting tooth and nail, that's a big stumble block.
that's true.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So that can
If that moves us on to round 6, which I think it does.
level 6. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would like to take.
Are we not doing the second test? Because that's what I have in my document, but
Oh,
The
Did we miss the
I
second
think
test?
we were talking about the second test was getting out of there as an add-on to the C story. I thought that's what
Okay.
it meant. You know, like getting the tactical withdrawal. It kind of the two run together very quickly. And easily.
okay, that makes
so we can
sense.
save
Yeah.
some time. So
Are we gonna
level 6.
continue or yeah? Because it's 9:30 where I'm at, and I haven't had dinner yet.
Okay. I think this would be a good place to leave it because it seems to me like the story has moved to a point where we
Yeah.
only have to
And
talk
this-
about the leader's struggle and stuff. And I think the way this story is running, let me just jump back to the main screen.
and this leaves us at right about 2 hours too.
Yeah. I also think that,
yeah,
I also think that in this story, the way that this story is taken shape, level 6, although it's still part of Act 2, would be so tied into Act 3. To do it now would actually stunt the imagination of anyone who was taking this story and going forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it.
Because there's,
Go on.
I was just gonna say, there's so many directions you could go here with all the different ideas and stuff. Because I still love that idea of like the daughter betraying, and that
Yeah.
would be like the end to the C story and all of that, or like it lead very well.
The end of the C story would having her not have Stockholm syndrome anymore, like something to break her out of it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you'd have to snap her out of it. But the way that happens should be left to the person who writes this story, not to us.
Mhm.
You know, and like the leader's struggle, we haven't identified anything right now, but he hasn't grieved yet. So, in fact, if someone could just bring up I can go through Act 6 real quick as the person who created this system and just point a few things out. If that's cool with you before we break.
Sure.
yes.
Yeah. So, Trevor, can you just go through Act 6 one at a time for me, and I'll just say where my feelings are right now.
Sure. Let me pull Outlook back up.
Yeah.
My bad.
And under no way am I going to influence the story. I'm just saying why I believe this ties into Act 3 so badly. So well. Sorry.
Let's see. I closed out Outlook. Sorry.
Here, level 6. The team grows. The first loss. The bad guys assumed win. The leader struggles alone. A new motivation. End C story. A motivation for all.
Okay. So really, all this ties into the withdrawal from where they are. You know, until it comes to the motivation for all. But at this point, you know, it's out of the escape. What happens when they escapes directly affects the new motivation for all and what happens when they get back to the town. So we can take all of those and cluster them clumsily together and say that withdrawal, something has to happen there, which brings the C story into effect. And I don't want to go that deep into it. We've set a good basis here for someone to take a story and finish it.
Yeah.
But I think to go that deep into it now would actually stunt someone else's imagination for the story. We'd be closing too many avenues off when they need to stay open at this point. Does everyone agree?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right then. So, at that, we will hand this story over to anyone who wants to finish it. Please feel free to do so. We expect no royalties. We expect no financial or any other form of compensation for taking this story and completing it, as we have stated earlier. I will say, if you do write that story, though, please let us know. We would like to read it and like to hear it and see what you did to conclude it. It'd be very interesting for us all to know, I'm sure.
The only requirement is using Trevor's drawings.
Again, the same as last week.
Yes!
Yes.
Always! It's just the expectation.
It is. It has got to be the expectation. And to be fair, Sai, I think you and I have pretty much flushed out the fact that we are totally going to find a way to make a Colonel Sanders dystopia comedy.
Yeah. It's just, if it was a dystopia comedy, Trevor, I would have been all over that. But anyway, I'd like to say good night, and once again, I would thank my regular co-host Trevor for being here. I would like to thank MK for stepping in as co-host. You're welcome back to co-host at any time. Thank you for being here. You are our grounding one. You're a good grounding force, and we appreciate having you. For Arpa, who had to leave us early, thank you for being here. For Patrick, thank you so much for your input. It's been great. And I know this was a big step away from your usual. So thanks for all the great input that you gave us tonight. And Sai,
Thank you for having me.
yeah. And Sai, thank you so much for all of your input. It's good night from me, and next week we will be doing Flintlock Steampunk, which is also a canopy of powder punk or powder fantasy, pirate fantasy, swashbuckling swords and swinging from the yardarms. So we'll look forward to seeing you next week. But good night from me, and good night from them.
Good night. Good
Bye.
night. Bye.
I'll miss you most of all, Scarecrow.
So, MK,